So, MTP Boston, what do you want to talk about? I have a guess, it just might be the 60-win Celtics. Just for your pleasure, we're here to break that down. So I'm hyped with Ray. I'm back with my guy. It's been a long time, and all I have to say is finally, me and Mike are back together, doing the show. So it doesn't matter if it's Celtics, Bruins, Patriots, Red Sox, like we always bring it for y'all. So I'm happy to be back. So Mike, how you doing tonight, man?
You're still riding that WrestleMania high. I love it.
I am.
I cannot wait to bring you down during this episode.
I'm ready for it. Like I said, we had a very spirited discussion off air. So for those that obviously aren't privy to our Discord, we're bringing our Discord to life. So sit back, get your cup of coffee, get your alcohol, whatever you want to do as you listen to this. Sit back and enjoy this. So as I say, like I said, we're getting into all things Celtics. We're recording this on Tax Day, on Patriots Day, April 15th. The Celtics regular season just ended yesterday on April 14th, where it was Mike Gorman Day. So we'll start off something positive. So with we can't say anything bad about Mike. So just obviously, Mike has been, the voice of the Celtics for 43 years. We started off in the Big East doing those games. And, obviously, we've listened to him, we grew up listening to him here. So just, any fond memories of Mike, before we get into, the Celtics regular season and then their playoff expectations or predictions.
Yeah. I think that, I've heard a lot of tributes. I watched the game. I saw all that. It's very rare that you still hear people use the term gentleman, and because that's what he is, and that's what he always will be. If you have the chance to run, walk next to him or be near him, anywhere outside of the arena, he would always stop and talk, take pictures. I think one of the cool parts about him is that he was a fan, and he never lost that. And you could always tell how much he respected and almost like idolized Tommy when they first started making calls together. I think he is, the voice of the Celtics for our generation. Our parents and grandparents had, Johnny Most, right?
Most, yeah.
And we have Mike Gorman, and his catchphrase of "got it," like it'll never be better than when he says it. And I hope, I hope they do what he asked them to do. Yes, on Sunday, and they go out and they win this one.
Right.
That'd be a great way for him to go out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and that's the first thing I thought of, like when they announced it at the beginning of the year, stating that this would be his final season. It's like, look, this guy's been a part of, many great seasons here. Back in the day, he actually used to do like the season recaps for the Celtics. That's how long he's been doing this. So, like I said, he's been invested in every way. Like I said, like you mentioned, he's been a fan. But because I've watched so many clips before, and then obviously we watched the Celtics for years. One of the calls I always think about the Ray Allen game winner in Charlotte on Thanksgiving Eve. They won the championship. It was like, Ray Allen for the win, got it. Oh, what a shot for Ray Allen! So I remember that. I remember when IT scored 52 in the Garden. I think it was 2016 or 2017. He had like 29 in the fourth, and I mean, just him and Tommy on those calls, as Isaiah just kept hitting shot after shot, was just magical to watch. So, the Paul Pierce went over here and when Pierce, shot that through over here into space. So, yeah, it's like he was the man, and obviously, we'll get into the prediction later on, but although we love him, we hope that we don't hear his voice past game 2 because that means it'll be a sweep. So,
right.
Cool. That's right before, but. Once again, like I said, from a fan perspective, I would love to hear his voice, but once again, just I want that to be done.
He'll travel for the away games for the playoffs.
Yes, but because he's a TV guy, it's Sean Grandy and Cedric. He won't be on the games for that. It'd just be the first round.
Yeah. But he'll be his last game. Hopefully, is Game 4 of the first round. Because
that's what you meant. Got you. That's yes. Yeah. I'm so yeah. That's right.
The chips.
I know that you're. I thought the second
round.
I was like, what? Yeah.
I know you're high on the Celtics, but they can't sweep
No,
them
no,
too.
yeah. Sorry, last game at TD. I hope the last game at TD Garden is game 2. That's what I
Yeah,
mean, because
perfect.
so that's what I mean. Got it. There we go. Cool. So yeah, Mike, we love you. Like I said, we thank you for the 43 years. Like I said, we would be remiss. We'd open it. Like I said, we have had a lot of great broadcasters come through here. So the Kurt Gowdy's of the world, Jerry Remy, Sean McDonough's. So it's like it's been a pleasure to listen to your voice for the last 20 years of our lives. So, here's the retirement, and like I said, best luck to you going forward. So that being said, we got the pleasantries out the way. So as I mentioned in the opening, the Celtics have gone 64-18. That I think Sean Grady put up there, that stands as their 4th best record of all time. The only time they haven't won the championship with their best record in the league. Well, not the best time, sorry, the only time. This is their fourth best record in franchise history. Three of the 4 times they've won it. They didn't win it in 73 because they lost to the Knicks, who was the eventual champion. So let's just get right into it, right? So just 64-18. What is your overall, just synopsis of them, and what kind of grade would you give them for the regular season?
I'd give them an A. I think that it's as close to perfect as you could possibly be. Sorry, I'll give them an A minus because you're just as close to perfect as you could possibly be. They entered the season, in my opinion, I think all of our opinions as the favorites to win the title, and they found a way throughout the course of the year to blow out teams and to just to finish in first by 14 games in this day and age is pretty hard to do. The NBA has been full of parity over the last 25 years, but I think that, they did, they beat, I'm trying really hard to say positive. They did a lot of great things. They shot well. They played great defense. So when you're a top 10 team in both scoring and defense in the NBA, that's gonna be a good year. The 2 J's, I think, continue to grow, but I'll say they're an A minus because they're 14 losses. Some of them to me are unacceptable. I know that you don't believe that losses mean anything anymore. You only talk about the wins, but their losses some of them were really unacceptable, and we'll get into more of that as the show goes. But listen, if they don't win the Eastern Conference Final and get into the NBA Finals, I reserve the right to say that the regular season was a failure.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I think they've earned that. What's there when you go back, look, we go back to the offseason, right? You make the overhauls that they make. You trade for Porzingis, which for those who've been long time listeners to us, there's an episode, maybe a year or some change ago, where Mike tells us, you want some change? Go get Chris Porzingis. And he said it once again. We were hesitant when he brought that up. It was like, what are you talking about? He's injury prone. It may not, yeah, he's a good player, but it's just like that doesn't change anything in the immediate. As of now, we were wrong. As of now, right? As of now, obviously, they have to get to the finals and win it. But so that was domino number 1. Then obviously domino number 2, trading Brogdon, trading Rob, Mr. Picks to get, Drew Holiday, who has been a long coveted player of Brad Stevens and the organization as a whole. So it's just like it felt different right away coming into training camp. And once again, in the regular season, they showed that. To your point about the losses, the Charlotte loss early on was really bad. The 2 Atlanta losses recently were also bad. I didn't love the OKC loss in OKC. I thought that was a bad loss too. That's a game I feel like they should have won. To me, it was just for me, as someone who's been as emotional as I've been, and those that listen to the show, there's no one that's been more emotional than me about the Celtics. To me, that should have told you that this team was different, because when I get emotional, that means I'm thinking more than what, or I'm going crazy when I shouldn't be going crazy. I felt early on, I'm like, this team is for real. They just got to prove it when the time is right. That's why I haven't had a rate on this show. I haven't gone crazy on Twitter. It's because I firmly believe this is the best team they've had since we were at Dean many, many years ago. And once again, most of the measures in the regular season proved it. Were there some bad losses, as you alluded to? Absolutely. But I couldn't manufacture too much anger when I'm like, yo, they won almost 80% of the games. Like that's, if they were like 50-32, I'd be like, yeah, this might not work year one. I would have been on that wave, but I'm like, they were 60-20 in March. And I'm and this was missing multiple people. So I'm like, they did what he was supposed to do in a regular season. Now it's just like, okay, you have no excuse, just get that job done. So we see it the same way. I just, like I said, my stance has just changed. And I was like, I can't get overly emotional when I'm like, I just seen them dominate. I'm just like, I can't.
Well,
like, it's like
also
their team is much better. They're
in
much
our
better.
in our group chat, you were, which is it's very unlike you this year.
Mhm.
You're a little different this year when it comes to them, which I'm fine with them on board, but I'm here to hold you accountable for
Yes, please
how
do.
you've been in the past.
Yes.
When they have great wins, you are very vocal. When they
Mhm.
have bad losses, you're like, oh, it's okay. They won 60 games. The problem, in my
Mhm.
opinion, is that their losses look exactly the same as they did last year and the year before. The,
Mhm.
the, here's why they didn't get an A, in my opinion. In the 3 games this year that would prove that you're built a little bit different, that you want to capture the moment. In season tournament to Indy. I
Mhm.
told you, you and I were on this show back in October of last year
Mhm.
when I said, I know it doesn't matter, but I feel like this team needs to hoist a trophy. And I
Yes.
just want to see them do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we agreed on that. We agreed on it
Yep.
at the time. Yep.
So they lose to Indy. I thought that their 2 losses to Denver, while they were great games, and Denver is the reigning defending
Mhm.
NBA champion, you still couldn't beat them.
Mhm.
The biggest blemish, though, and I know that you don't care about this, you lost to a Lakers team on your home court that
Oh, that's the other one. Yeah. Without
did
Braun
not
AD.
start LeBron and
Yeah.
AD.
Yeah. That's the other one. Yeah. No, no, that was bad. It just, I think one got lost in translation. Some cared about it, some didn't. But what's crazy, they won 10 in a row. So they lost that. And I'm just like, last year's team, the year before, they would have lost a game like that. And then it would have lost, they would have lost 3, 4, maybe 5 in a row. And it would have been like, man, what's going on? Like they let this linger over. That's what, to me, it felt different, where I'm like, okay, after a terrible loss, whether it be excusable or not, they reeled off a bunch of wins. Some of them against some good teams, some against some bad teams. And of course you want to see them beat Denver. Of course you do. The game in Denver, to me, was more inexcusable than the one they lost at home. Because I was there for the one they lost at home. That game was back and forth all game. Like, it wasn't like Denver was up 15 or we was up 15. Like, that game was just a pendulum swing, back and forth, back and forth. And then I feel like in the waning minutes, they got a lot of good looks. They missed them. And they win that game. We're looking at them differently, against Denver.
But
I would still like that series. I would like to see that series in June, because that means that we got there. But like I said, I feel I was more annoyed with the second game than the first game. People were mad about the first game, and it was the first home loss of the year,
yeah,
in
I
my
mean,
opinion.
I think, but that's one of those, like, you got to get up for them games, right? Like
Yeah,
that's why I said
yeah,
they lost their 3. You got to get up for them games this year.
yeah.
The mid-season tournament or in-season tournament, whatever you want to call it, but
Mm.
that loss to Denver at home when you had not lost all year, you're going to lose. I know it sounds like I don't think that they should have lost any games. That's not it at all. But in a
Yeah.
season which they only lost 18, you can look at the 18 and say which ones are acceptable losses. I would say that the 2 against Denver, in the grand scheme of things, are probably acceptable because they played pretty
Mm.
well, except that home game against Denver, you let Jamal Murray put 35 on you, and Jokic put 34 on you.
Yeah.
Your plan
Yeah.
has to be to just not let them 2 beat you, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I'm glad you brought that point up, because that's fair. I think, to me, and we saw more of the second game, when they put Jaylen Brown on Jamal Murray, his scoring was slowed down. So to me now, if there's the finals matchup, you got to put Brown on Murray right away, not waiting to the fourth. And once again, Drew's been a great defender for most of the year, but in fairness, once again, we're not going to be completely biased here. He was giving Drew the business. He just was. It's not, that's not an opinion, or that's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. As a fact. So it's like, if Jaylen Brown could be a little more physical, move his feet, fine. Give him that assignment. And if his offense struggles a little bit and he stops a few possessions where we get the ball back and we score, that means that Jaylen Brown did his job. So I would rather see that. So if they do that from the beginning, which is the adjustment they made in the second game out there in Denver,
Yeah.
I think they would fare a little bit better. But like you said, yeah, you can't let both of them go for 30, and then Aaron Gordon again his 10 to 15, KCP, who was also someone we want to hear the year before. That can't happen. So yeah, there's some things they have to nitpick in order to get right. But no, you're absolutely right. You can't let those guys get 30 plus and be like, yeah, we're gonna win a game. Of course you're not. Because if you're not getting if your guys aren't doing 30 plus, then guess what? You're gonna Pellegrino say, and that's the ball game. Your 2024 NBA champions are the Denver Nuggets. So I don't want to hear that because I was on the floor when Golden State won, and I would not like to be holding the ropes for the visiting team winning championship. I'd rather be on the floor crying because we won.
Right.
you know, just
No.
so yeah.
I hope we get to play Denver again. I hope that we do everything that we need to do to get to the finals. It's like one of those scenarios where I'm not trying to preview the finals already, but you need to make a decision. Do you want Jokic to score 30, 35 points and have 17 assists, or do you want him to score 50 points and have 5 assists?
50 and 5.
Right, because he's going to do
Yeah.
one of those two things. He's
Yeah.
not ever gonna underperform. He is the best passing big man I have ever seen in my life. Ever.
Yeah, and I like for sure. Yeah, and I
he
like
gets-
that. Yeah,
Right. He gets everyone
So-
else involved. So listen, would you rather him score 50 and Murray score, 20, or would you rather him score 37? Murray scores 37, then Aaron Gordon scores 12. Like you can't beat them
yeah.
that way.
Well, that was the killer in the game here, right? Like they once again fourth quarter defense. They showed up. I remember they showed up, but what happened was the rotations were late, and once again that now that's the problem. The rotations cannot be late on Jokic because of his IQ. As soon as he see you come on the double late, Aaron Gordon was wide open. So whoever's the guy that's behind or on the weak side with Aaron Gordon, that guy's got to rotate there to stop Aaron Gordon. If not, that's where the 15 points come in because Aaron Gordon is not going to create offense for himself. He didn't do it in Arizona. He didn't do it in Orlando. So he's not going to do it there in Denver. That's the thing that can't happen. Aaron Gordon is someone that gets a lot of points off Jokic's, Jokic being doubled. And if it's me, I'm not doubling him, right? So, and the name I'm about to bring up is gonna bring laughter to you because of how he's been coaching so far this year. But that's the approach that worked when Doc was here, right? Doc would say to the team all the time, "Okay, one guy can't beat us," and it's true, one guy can't beat you. So let that guy go off. You cut the water off of everyone else, and you go from there, right?
Yeah.
So I would gladly. And once again, it's easier said than done because obviously your discipline has to be there when you see him, doing horse shots all over the court and in them. But you have to be enough where you can show a little bit, show then go, right? So go back and build back out to the corner because if not, it's going to be a long night in that regard. So but like I said, that's putting the cart before the horse. Like obviously, both teams got to get there. I know more teams, more people are confident about Denver getting there because it's like, oh, they just won. But I want to reiterate and remind people, Denver had their struggles too before getting to the finals and winning. So there's no one way to get to the championship. But like I said, we'll get into that later on. But anything else to add before we move on?
No, I think we've adequately previewed the NBA finals.
Exactly. So obviously, we're in year 2 of the Mazzulla era. So last year, obviously, we don't have to go down the road of what happened. We all know what happened, but he comes in really on the fly, goes 57 and 25. Obviously, they lose in game 7 to Miami at home. In hindsight, once again, not many probably could have came in at 157. Yes, the team is super talented, but to be a first-time person, you lost a few of your assistants, literally right before the season started as well, because Damon Stoudemire left, so did Will Hardy going to Utah. So, there's a lot of things that were being changed. So, year two, it's a +7 in the win column. You add Sam Cassell, you add Charles Lee. So just speak to the job that you think Mazzulla's done. Do you think he's had improvements? And then if he hasn't improved, where do you want to see him grow in the postseason and beyond?
Well, I I don't think he's improved as much as the record would say that he has. I think the talent on the roster has improved, and if you want to say that the way that they space the floor is because of his coaching, fine, I'll give that to you. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a young coach. I think he could turn out to be, a good head coach for a very long time. But when you ask, like, where does he still need to grow? He needs to learn when to call a timeout to stop a run. He still needs to do that. He needs to learn how to call a play at the end of a game that is not just, uh, Tatum dribble it 24 times across across half court and then put up a jumper three. Like you can't do that. And not for nothing, the Celtics had 3 games this year where they blew a 25-point lead or more in the second half, and they lost those games. That's coaching. Sorry, it is. Like, stop a run. You have to stop one of those runs. I know that you want to leave it on your players, but sometimes, like, these players need to be told that they're not doing good enough and, like, to fucking regroup. But
Yep.
it's hard. It's really hard to say that a coach that in 2 years has won, 123 games,
Mhm.
still has a lot to improve on. But I think he does. And maybe he has. Maybe he has learned all of this and he just didn't want to show anyone in the regular season. He's saving it all for the playoff run. God, I hope that that's true.
Well,
But I think the glaring things that bothered us last year with Joe are still there this year. That the team's just better.
right. And so the timeouts have gotten a little bit better, but you're right. It's not something where I'm resigned to the fact that, oh, he's got it figured out, because he doesn't. In that regard, he doesn't. Like you said, I do think the spacing has gotten better. I do think some plays between quarter 1 to 3, I'm like, oh, these are great plays being ran. And for whatever reason, in the fourth quarter, it turns into playground offense.
Right.
And once again, that could be a thing where I think it's probably on the players reverting back to something they don't think is working. I think it's part of it. Maybe they're not wanting to show everything, but it's like, look, good offense will always beat good defense. Always. Always. It always has. And like I said, shout out to Bill Russell. He said it a long time ago. This game it always has been about getting buckets. It just
Yep.
is. So this team can score. Once again, we just saw their C team, not even the B team, their C team put up 120 in back-to-back performances. Just seeing that.
Yep.
Now, granted, it wasn't against great competition themselves, but these are still NBA level players, and they put up 120, with guys that were playing maybe 10 minutes a game, during the season. So, that just speaks to that. I think, to that progression. But yeah, I think defensively at times they've shown where they can shut you down. But yeah, I mean, I do think that where he has grown is his responses for things. Like, some things, I know some people still get annoyed with some of his responses, but I feel like he was way more comfortable this year in answering questions to the media than he was last year. I feel like he was a fish out of water completely last year. Now I feel like most times he likes to troll Gary Washburn, which I'm here for, because sometimes Gary Washburn annoys me too. As a writer, he never speaks to people at the Garden, but that's a whole nother topic for
Great.
another
Well,
day.
I guess he's not coming on the
Yeah,
show.
he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. So I'll put it out there. I don't care, but but hey, Abby, still waiting for you to come back on. Got to reach out to you, but yeah. So please, but like I said, I was pleased that he took a slight uptake. Once again, the goal would be for him to reach where Spo was, because Spo was around the same age when he started in Miami. So that would be great to see him and Brad have the trajectory where they grow together,
Yep.
and be that had that GM coach role for a number of years. But yeah, but like I say, yeah, hopefully the timeouts get better in the postseason. Hopefully the down the stretch execution. Because yeah, I think about the Minnesota game where we've seen Tatum completely take over, and I'm just like, this is what we have clamored for the last 5 years. This is what we wanted. It's like drive to the bucket. If you see someone in the corner, kick it out to the corner. Like, if I'm them, I would have had to tape that Minnesota game on loop and say, hey, if you literally follow this just 80%, not even 100%, if you do this 80% of the time on Father's Day, you're a champion. Like, it don't have to be all the time. If you legit follow that 80% of the time, Eddie Palladino or whoever the opposing road PA announcer is going to say, and you're 2024 NBA champions, is the Boston Celtics. So, I don't know. Like I said, there's some actions I hope that they've been working on that we haven't seen, that they start breaking out right away because they need to. And, hopefully they take this week to get rest. But it's like, man, they need to figure that out in a major way. So, either way, like I said, it was good to see some improvement in the win column. Because once again, I'll never be mad about getting more wins. But like I said, the expectation is different up here, so it has to translate to wins come April, May, and June. So I want to shift to the players because obviously coaches coach, but players are the ones that end up doing the executing on the floor, and they're the ones that ultimately get criticized the most. So I want to start with the head of the snake, which is Jayson Tatum. Just obviously, his regular season numbers now, I think they were 26, 8 and 5, career high, I think, in assists, highest field goal percentage he's had, I think, since 2019 at 47%. But this is now year 7. We're looking at him differently. What do you need to see from him on the court or off the court in this postseason to cement or to further cement his legacy here in Boston?
If you want to idolize Kobe, then you need to have Kobe moments in the playoffs. Like that's just when, and not one off. Like you can't have that amazing fourth quarter in Philly, right? And then lay an egg essentially the entire time against Miami. I want a playoff run of dominance from Jayson Tatum. And I don't need him to score 40 points a night. We don't either. Yeah. If he gets 25, but he gets his assists up to 12, right? And he continues doing, he continues averaging with his 8 rebounds a game. They're going to win. They're going to win decisively. I think the glaring issue for me when talking about him is at the end of games when if you want the last shot and you're down by 1 or 2, you don't need to take a 3. You really fucking don't need to take a 3. You're now a superstar in this league. Push it to the rim. Like, attack the rim. Make them follow you. Don't be afraid of the contact. And it's the thing, this brings me back to the bubble against Miami when Bam, pantsed him on that dunk to the rim. I think he's grown so much as a player since then. You can see it. Right. He's offensively more efficient. He is dominant at times. Much like Joe Mazzulla's play calling from quarters 1 to 3, like Jayson Tatum, you can count on him in quarters 1 to 3. You haven't been able to count on him in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. Let's just call, there have been aberrations, but the rule and not the exception is that he's not going to have a great fourth quarter. That needs to change this playoff run.
Yeah. So it's funny. I feel like it's actually the other way around the play. I feel like he needs to get up to a better start. I feel like because there's been times where he has ended up saving us in the fourth quarter in the playoffs, but he hasn't done nothing up until the fourth in the playoffs, if that makes sense. So with the exception of the Milwaukee Game 6, Philly Game 7, like those games he went off because he started off hot. When he starts off hot, that's when it's like, okay, you see the 40s, the 50s from him because he's engaged from the jump. And when that happens, he's unguardable. Like there's no, I don't want to come in here trolling in the comments when we release this. Like when he starts from the jump and says, I don't care what's in front of me, you can't stop me. That's when we've seen those magical performances. Even from his rookie year. I remember the 34 he had in Milwaukee, I think game 4, I think, him and Jaylen before 30 plus. And that was the first game we was like, oh, okay, like we got something here in the future if these guys continue to grow. So every year he's had a performance for us where you're like, man, like this guy, he's the real deal. And we know it. That's why we hold it. It's not like if we didn't know what it think like we wouldn't care. We know he's capable. It's one thing if we don't think we know he's capable of giving these masterful performances. And like you said, I don't. I mean, it'd be great to see 40 a night. I would love that. That would be,
But
yeah,
we don't need it.
that would be a slip. We don't need it, right? But it's just like I just feel like buckets from him hurt more than other guys on the team. So when he's hot, you're like, damn, if he's going off, what can we
Yeah, but
do?
they've drilled into our heads that at the end of the game, if the Celtics are down by 1 or 2, or even 3, that Tatum is going to take the ball over half court. He's going to dribble it about 16 more times, and he's going to shoot it. He's not going to pass it.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that this sounds like I'm a hypocrite because 3 years ago, what I would say, like, all he does is look to pass that shot. He doesn't want it on him. That's different. The reason why it's different is because everyone, including him and the rest of the league now, knows that he's the guy. He is the leader of this team.
Right.
So if everyone knows that you're going to take that final shot and they give you more attention, that means someone's being left open.
Right.
And if they're playing off of Drew, who's sitting in the corner and who shoots 68% corner threes, your job as the leader is to win the game, get the ball to him.
Right. Yep. No, totally agree. Totally agree. And sorry to go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Remember that second Denver game? Guess who got hot in the fourth quarter? Got it back to the game. Drew Holiday.
Right.
Because Drew has been in that moment, and Drew was like, okay, give it to me. He run up top of the key, splash, then they get a steal, corner 3, splash, and it was like with 36 seconds, they had a chance to win that game. But Tatum went to the corner. Unfortunately, he missed that 3. But I was like, yo, feed the man. See, I'm big feeding who's hot. Like if Tatum's hot, feed him. If it's JB's hot, feed him. If Holiday's hot, feed him. Like even if Al was hitting free to roll, give it to him. Let him ride the hot wave until they cool down. Like that, I am so much a component of that type of offense. But it's like, oh, it feels like, oh, well, man, when am I going to get to touch? Figure all that. It's about the name on the front, not the name on the back.
Yep.
It's about the name, the goal is for the Boston Celtics to score, not Tatum, not Brown, not Porzingis as an individual. The goal is for the Boston Celtics to either get a 2-point possession or a 3-point possession. That's the goal.
Right.
So it's just like, I think to me, that's the mindset that needs to be adopted. And once again, you're going to have moments where you have ISO. Sometimes that's the best thing. Like if it's Jayson Tatum on, say like on a Trae Young, of course, go to work. Like there's something Trae Young can do. So of course, look his ass. But if it's a big wing defender like a Jimmy Butler or it's like, that's when you blow by them, go to the rim. So, I just, to me, I do want to see more of the playmaking from him because I feel like when he is engaged that way, he gets other people involved and then he can have his legs for the fourth quarter. But yeah, keep the recipe to me. Keep letting JB go off in the first quarter. That's the recipe. JB's the guy to get started. Let him get his 15 in the first. Porzingis get his 8 and 9 in the first. That's what's been happening when they've dominated. Those guys usually go off first. And then, Tatum at times either closes or he does his thing. So I feel like that to me should be the formula. It's just a matter of they're actually going to stick to it is the thing. But once again, if you want to win, you have to do whatever it takes to be successful and not just pick and choose when you want to be great, in my opinion. So, but we'll see what happens from him. But I just mentioned his teammate, Jaylen Brown. I don't know anyone that's gotten more criticism than him in his time here in Boston. I mean, we've gotten on Tatum, but Jaylen Brown, even for me, we've been on the show at times, the Celtics Twitter, oh, no love hand, oh, too many turnovers, and a lot of things were true, right? But speak to how his game, has gotten better in your eyes, this year, and sacrificing the way that he did. So speak to that.
Well, yeah, obviously, like between this year and last year, he's scoring 3 less points a game. He's averaging 23 points again this year. He was about 26.5 last year. His 3-point percentage is way better. It's almost 3 percentage points better. I think his I love seeing that his turnovers went down. And like when you look at it, he almost averaged three turnovers per game last year. He's down to, I think, just over 2. So like that doesn't feel like a lot, but it is. I mean, that's essentially 82 less turnovers this year by Jaylen Brown. Or by Jaylen Brown. But the thing, again, sorry to be negative.
No, I know where you're going. It's not wrong what you're about to say. So I know what you're about to say.
get your ass to the gym and
Mhm.
just shoot from the line,
Yeah.
because it is
Yeah.
unacceptable that
Mhm.
your free throw percentage dropped 6.5 points year over year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
DK and I talked about this too. I think you were on one of those episodes. The only thing that contributes to your lack of ability to shoot from the line is the time that you put to do it, right?
Yep.
So he's focusing on everything else besides free throw shooting. And I didn't going to tell you, like, we know this
Yeah.
because if you put him at the line five, or let's just call it 8 times in a game, I do think that he's going to miss 4 of those shots.
Yeah. 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 And I don't know if it's a mental thing because it was we had an issue same thing with Giannis a few years ago, right? Like where you knew him getting to the line it was a joke. Like he was gonna miss until that game 6 when he had it close out Phoenix. And he said, "Okay, I'm gonna show y'all." And he went 16 to 17. So that would be
Yep.
my dream here for him to go 9 to 10 in a closeout game in the finals to shut all of us up. And I'd be like, perfect, great. That's you did it when it mattered. I don't care if you're 72% the next year. You did it when it mattered. I'm
Right.
good. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe he gets up to 78%, 80% in the playoffs. That'd be great. His defense has improved dramatically. We spoke about that earlier in the show. His defense has been great. He has one of the best mid-range games in the
In the
league.
league. Yeah.
And so it's just like to me, he's made sure he's improved and everything. So like I said, the only thing left is the free throw thing, right? So it's the free throws with JB. It's the selective 3-point shot with Tatum because he jacks it up when he doesn't need to jack it up. But once again, referees, y'all treat him like he's a rookie still. Call the foul. And I know there's a little bit of a vendetta because he always gets on y'all when y'all don't call it.
Well, yeah. Well, he always asks for one.
Right. But I'm like, so like I said, I'm there most nights. He's getting, and once again, they do it. He gets ref like how they play in the street, right? So it's like unless you visually see him getting hit on the wrist or hit on the stomach, like they're not calling it. So what happens is on picks, for those that have seen this on YouTube, like they're grabbing his arm, kind of like they're hooking it at times, but they're hooking it where it looks like but he's trying to get him off of him. Then they'll call off as a foul, or he gets the dumbass text for the hanging on the rim. But I'm like, what do you want him to do? You want him to just jump up there and then jump down on somebody? So he's starting to get refed, and he's not Rasheed Wallace category. I don't want to go that far, but they're fucking with him, in my opinion. They are. And it's just like certain times, guys and play teams know it. So they're like, you know what? Let's slap him. Let's get him frustrated. So it's on him now to be like, okay, regardless of what's going on, I don't need a foul. I'm gonna give you this 35 lemon pepper chicken wing dinner with all flats. I'm gonna give that to you, and you can't stop me. That's where he needs to get to. So I just wanted to get back to that.
But
So yeah, get on
but
the
but but don't,
point. Be good.
but don't you think that he's ref the way that he's ref A? Because I mean, again, I think everyone in the league does it now too, especially the anointed ones of the superstars. But
Mhm.
the minute he doesn't get 2 calls early in the game that he thinks he should have got, he starts looking at the refs. Like everything changes because yes, what you're saying is true. And
Mhm.
unless there is explicit contact on him, they won't call a foul. My belief is that because when there isn't, he still acts like there is. And they're trying to go after more players like that. I know LeBron is always gonna flop, always. There are gonna be these handful of guys that do it. But you know, I I don't think, and I think you and I disagree on this, I don't think Tatum has earned the right to get all of the calls. I don't.
Not all the calls. Well, then again, no player gets every call, but it should be more than what it is. That's what I'll say. Not a majority, but it should be more. I would say right now, the calls are 60-40 when it should be 70-30. That's how I feel. It's 60-40 right now. To me, that's too close. It should be
But
70-30 because once again, he is someone that fans are coming to see. Regardless of what we think about this game,
yeah,
every I see people are zeroed up. Like they're coming to see him. So even on the road, they're coming to see him. So he
would
is the
you
action.
would you agree that not all the time, maybe a majority of the time, he acts as though the calls are 90-10 against him? Like if he did
Yes.
not,
Yeah.
and that has a lot to do with it. It
Yeah.
has a whole hell of a
Yeah.
lot to do with it.
Yeah. I just think, and this is just my bias coming out, but we see a guy up the road or down the road, I-95 South, Philadelphia, which I was just there. We see a guy, Joel Embiid. That man jumps into the first row. It's a flagrant foul. He falls back, getting tapped on the shoulder. Oh my arm! Like it's the SpongeBob meme. Oh my leg! Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like that's my problem. Is because that guy gets ref like he's 6'2", and he's 7'2", 280, and you sneeze in his direction, he's blowing like the wind. Or like that old school movie with Clark Gable, he's gone with the wind. It's fucking wild to me. So that's where same thing with the hardest of the world. Like that was my problem. Those guys would just be you go like this and they'd be like, oh my, it's like same thing. Smart was the same way. I don't want to make it Smart was the same way. It was ridiculous. It's like play straight up. But the thing is, they can't guard Tatum unless they are fouling him. That's the problem.
Right.
They can't guard him straight up. He's good. Jayson Tatum would get 50 every night if he got the whistle that Embiid got or Harden got back in the day. He would get 50 easily, and we would steamroll to a championship because you can't be able to touch him. But he hasn't got to that point yet. Hopefully he does. Maybe when they win, we can get all the calls we desire.
I'm here for that.
Yeah. So I would love that, but it's, I don't know. Just to me, referees and Tatum do better. But this next thing, this is where the floor is yours. Once again, said it earlier in the show, you were the first one on this show to say that Porzingis would be an excellent addition. His numbers on the regular season: 20 points, 7 rebounds a game, 2 assists a game. I think in the high 30s for 3, 49% from the field. So the floor is yours. Speak about the addition of Porzingis, what he's meant for the franchise, and did it exceed your expectations?
Yeah, I think it wholeheartedly exceeded my expectations in the regular season. It doesn't matter if they don't win, right? In my opinion, if he's healthy, I think it's going to be hard for any team to consistently come in here and beat us if everyone stays healthy. But just initially the buy-in from him, right? Like he instantly came into Boston and just decided that it wasn't going to be the KP show. He was there to make Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown better. And we talked about it in the preview show before the season started, how having him on the floor is instantly gonna create more space in the lanes, and it that happened. Like I think, Jaylen Brown got better with ball handling in the offseason. I also think that the lane isn't as cramped because now they have to worry about KP on the outside. So a big man's out there, right? I think the way that he facilitates the ball is better than I thought it was going to be, but also like his defense and rim protection is better, way better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I think we had this this misconception of him up here that he was soft. Now I'm not saying that he's not Andre Drummond or any, like he's not an outgoing rim protector, but in a close game, he does defend well, like really well. So I just think, when you look at his stats, they're everything across the board that would indicate individual performance has dropped year over year. That's a good thing because that means he's more efficient. His assists went up. So those actually still, those stayed flat. His minutes went down, which is fine. He averaged, just under 30 minutes a night. That's awesome because
that to me, that's been the biggest. And once again, I know you was getting on me about it, but I'm like, when I thought about it, because I remember we're scarred from what happened with KG. Remember, KG got hurt on a non-contact thing, and then that changed everything for us going forward.
Everything.
So I was like, okay, they lost the game until they shouldn't have lost, but I'm like, did KP walk out unscathed? Yes. I know JB got the thing with the hand, but Tatum unscathed. Drew had the shoulder, but Drew was able to come back. Like, I don't want any built-in excuse. That's where I'm at because I know, it's people like you that I love. Other people gonna be like, man, but they ain't doing why I see the play. No, I want everyone to. So there's no excuse to say when they we want so good. Nope, everyone's on the floor. You play your hardest. If you win, great. If you lose, then you got to go back to the drawing board. But to me, him being healthy was the biggest thing, and they couldn't have managed that situation any better, whether it was Mazzulla, whether it was from Rick Grossbeck, whether it's from the training staff. Like, I thought they did a phenomenal job. So I'm like that to me is the biggest win of the year so far, is that you were able to get him to the playoffs. But to speak to your point about him being the rim protector and being that guy on defense, when he was in Dallas, that's when the transition started to change for him. He started to be a little more of a presence defensively. His first postseason was with Dallas, even
Yep.
though they ended up losing in the first round, I think, in the bubble. And, so that's where he started to think, kind of be more of a two-way player, because it became less about being the guy offensively, but just knowing, okay, where can I make my impact in different ways of the game? And him being cool with Jaylen Brown right away helped. Him doing some pick and roll stuff with Tatum also helped. A guy that can set the tone like Derek White and Drew Holiday in the backcourt. There's a part of me, there were certain games this year where I would have loved to see. I would, this would have been cool to see if we had kept Smart but had him on the bench. But I think he would have been phenomenal with Smart, because Smart would have been erratic, but Smart would have threw it up to him all the time, and he probably would have got 25 a night up here, because Smart would have threw it up to him at different points of the game. But yeah, he was awesome, like I said. But kudos to you and anyone else that had that train of thought about Porzingis coming. Once again, I did not see the vision. Like, I was like, I don't see it. I don't know. Like, I knew he was talented, obviously, because he could play. But I was like, how does that?
Your reaction on that show is so damn funny. When I was
Yeah.
like, well, you want to make a splash? Why don't you go get KP?
Yeah.
You just go, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was just like, it felt like a pipe dream. It was just like, that's not like, I said, we don't make moves like that. But shout out to Brad. And once again, his job as GM, he's been aggressive when he needs to be. He stood pat when he needed to be.
Yep.
And yeah, he's been a great builder of the team. And, he's really, kind of built it on the fly after taking over from Danny. And he's done the best that he's could so far to highlight the Jays and what they do well. And, this has been the best version of that team since, he's taken over and been here in Boston.
Oh,
I think this is the first time they won 60 games since 08-09, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, like they've done a phenomenal job. But
did they win 60 the year after the title?
yes, the 08-09, they were 62-20, but that's KG got hurt that year. So they lost to Orlando in the second round. And in 2010, when they went back to the finals, they were the 4th seed, but they won 50 games. Shaq comes in next year, they won 56. Then they went 39, because that was a strike year the next year. And then, team got blew up the following year. So then Brad Stevens came in. So yeah, so, but they've been on the climb. They've only missed the playoff once in the Brad Stevens era as coach or GM.
It
And
was his first year, right?
Yep, this is first year. This is first year. Every year since then, since the IT trade, they've been off and running. And once again, he hasn't been reluctant to make the trades that Danny was.
Man, like, this just makes me, I'm sorry to do this to you, but like, this just makes Doc look so much worse. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like,
For sure.
It's playoff season. Doc is back in the league.
Right.
So I am afforded my 2 minutes of, how do you fucking look now, Doc? You left Boston because you didn't want to be part of a rebuild. You go out to LA, you get the keys to the kingdom, and you never went further than the Celtics team did ever in the playoffs.
Ever. Yep. It was crazy. The year, well, it wasn't in Philly. It was still in LA. But the most glaring one was they was up 3-1 against Houston.
That's a loss.
And I mean, and once again, this is, and I have his jerseys in my closet somewhere, but I won't go get it now. I'll use it for another show. But they let that version of Josh Smith, because Josh Smith was really good on the Hawks, but he wasn't the guy by the time he got to Houston. They let that version of Josh Smith look like Dominique Wilkins, and I was like, wow. I was like, so when that happened, I was like, because people was blowing on my phone like, your boy, and I'm like, I can't defend him today. I can't. I was like, that. I said, when you let Josh Smith look like Dominique Wilkins, and he's in year 10, and he's not the guy that he once was, like, it's sad. And yeah, so I mean, I'm banking on, I think New York's going to beat them if they play them in the second round. So I'm totally on board with that. But want to get back to Brad Stevens, because he just did something recently that I love that he did because he's been the king of the extensions. He extended Drew Holiday 4 years, 135 million, saves them about 9 to 10 million in the luxury tax for next year. So, speak to that signing and just what are your overall thoughts of how Drew has been since he's been added to the
I
Celtics?
love it. I love it, man. I think it's a great signing. I think, if the Celtics go out and they win the title this year, they're going to keep this core together for as long as they possibly can.
Hmm.
If not, then next year is the last year, right?
Right.
Like you have 2 years to win a title. I think Wick will have no problem being over the tax, just like Golden State was for their run. If they can put together a similar run, I think it was daunting for a guy like Drew to come in to a city where everyone revered Marcus Smart, the guy that has the most playoff starts without the championship in Celtics history, and he filled in and he did better. I think Drew Holiday is an upgrade over Marcus Smart
Yeah.
in every way. He might be a little quieter on the floor, but
Mhm.
his shooting is more dependable.
Right.
Uh, I think he's just as good defensively, maybe a tick, maybe not as he's not a defensive player of the year right now, but I think
Mhm.
if you wanted to be, he could be. But the best thing that he is that Marcus Smart was not is he's a champion, and now you have a champion on your roster when you're looking to make a championship run.
Yep.
So I hope that he's here for the entirety of the extension, because if that's the case, that means that we're winning championships.
Yeah. And then, like I said, that he can retire something. Walker Hopper can retire. So I think Al's definitely gonna retire. So I don't think he's a little bit older, obviously. But yeah, I mean, listen, that. So I think I said it when me and Dave did a season preview back in October. For the OG Celtics listeners or fans, I should say, and if we weren't alive when this trade happened, but this is the one that came to mind when the news broke that we got Drew Holiday. It felt like when the Celtics got Dennis Johnson years ago, right? Dennis Johnson had been a champion in Seattle, with the Seattle Supersonics. People like, "What is that?" That's the original OKC, y'all. So Seattle
Yeah,
Supersonics,
that's where KD was drafted.
right, exactly. KD was drafted. So, Dennis Johnson, Jack Sigma, downtown Freddie Brown, those guys won the championship in the late 70s. So Boston in 83 they get swept by Milwaukee, right? uh, Milwaukee was a really good team. They get swept by them. They say, okay, we need to make some changes. They bring in Dennis Johnson. They win the championship the next year in 84 against the Lakers. They go to 4 straight finals. So this move feels like that. Once again, they haven't won it, but I feel like they come both teams similar. Both teams have come off a bad loss. Like I said, they got that team with Larry Bird. With Larry Bird had already won a championship, got swept. So once again, let's put it in perspective. I know it's 2024, but like Larry Bird got swept, and they said, okay, let's do some changes, and they did, and they ended up going to 4 straight finals, winning 2 of those. So would have been 3 if Mikhail didn't get hurt in '87. But I know Lakers fans feel otherwise. But once again, we're speaking in fact, not opinion. So yeah, so that's just what it is. But yeah, I think Drew Holiday has been awesome. I think that he's exactly what they needed at this point.
Yeah,
According to Brad, I guess he wanted him probably in 2019 after Kyrie left. I think that would have been really cool at the time, because they had just swept Portland and Dame Lillard at that time. For those that remember, go back to that series. Drew Holiday was phenomenal in that series. He dropped 40 on Dame Lillard. So I would love to see that again. In the conference final, if that was the case. If both teams get there. So yeah, but no, that signing was great. The trade was great. And once again, he's been exactly what they needed from a chemistry standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. And we said it before on the show. That was the biggest thing that was missing. The coaching staff didn't have anyone that won a championship. You got Sam Cassell, you got Charles Lee. On the floor, you didn't have someone that won a championship. And now you have Drew Holiday, who's been there, who can be that calming presence. And because you gotta lead by example. That's all you have to be with his words, but just lead by example. And
yep.
that's what we've been able to do. So love the trade, love the signing. And I hope that we're able to add to his ring collection because he deserves it. Big Al deserves it. Once again, the whole damn team deserves it because, like I said, they've been really great this year, and like I said, it would be fitting for them to cap it off with this championship. So, just to stay there, something I've been thinking about because social media is amazing. Once again, it could be very good, it could be very bad, and it's something I wanted to talk about with you. But I'm glad it was with you. Like I said, it'd been cool to have other part of the Celtics crew on here, but they couldn't make it tonight. But just who to you has been the most, and I'm going somewhere with this, so I'm asking you, who has been the most dominant champion in your opinion? And you can get more than one answer, but who do you think has been the most dominant champion or champions in the last 25 years?
Number one is the 2016-2017 Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
Regular season, I think they were 67-15.
Mm-hmm.
But in the playoff run, they were 16-1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they only lost one game, and it was in the finals when they were up 3-0 to Cleveland. So they never lost an important game. They lost one closeout game that year. I think people forget how good the 2000 and 2001 LA Lakers were. Again, 15-1 in that in their playoff run.
Yeah, some guy Allen Iverson just went crazy and ruined their perfect playoff.
Yeah, and then 25 years. I mean, I think that those are the two that pop up in my mind.
There's one more you're missing, I feel like, but I'll say it if you don't bring it up. I'll say it, and I'm not talking about the 08 Celtics either. I'm not talking about them. It's the 2014 Spurs too, because they dismantled the Heat, murdered the Heat in the finals. It was 4-1. It was ugly.
Yeah,
yeah. That was that.
So you're talking about just the overall final.
Well, so yeah, I guess I'm thinking about the end result, but yeah, I thought they were on a mission that whole year after they lost to Miami the year before. So I feel like that team should be mentioned in the last 25 because they were on a mission all year. Because that's how I felt about this team now. Like I said, if we win, I feel like we're like the 14 Spurs. Getting that close, and then it's like, okay, we're blowing through everybody, and now it's like, okay, let's make this, let's make it personal. But the reason why I said that, so I agree with the names you brought up. Like I said, there's probably some other teams that people will listen to and say, oh, like the 07 Spurs or the 04 Pistons, or they might even bring up our Celtics, right? The reason why I bring it up, and I want to say this more so the Celtics Twitter, it's not necessarily to you, even though me and you joked about this. There's no perfect way to the championship. So whether it went 5, whether it went 7, whether it went 4, but let's keep it to our home team. The last time they won in 2008, right? Could you imagine if social media was as much of a mainstay as it is now back then? Oh, this team, we would say this team is frauds. They went 7 with Atlanta. They won the series. This team went with just a LeBron-led team and they won 7. They won the series. This team can't win on the road. They won twice when it mattered in Detroit and closed out in Detroit, went to the finals. Oh, they're not going to beat Kobe Bryant. They smacked Kobe Bryant by 39 in the closeout game. And it's just like, I say that to say, enjoy it. Enjoy it, because it's just like, yes, we know they got to win. We know that. But enjoy the fucking process. If it takes 6 games to beat a team, so be it. As long as they advance, that's all that matters. Just advance. There was a time when I'd have freaked out just like something, but I'm like, no, as long as you advance, that's all that matters. This is not March Madness. It's not a one and done. It's not that. So there's going to be teams that go crazy for a game and they do it. That happens. Once again, that 2019 team that was here, that team was fucking loaded. They blew Indiana out the building for those 4 games. And I wasn't back up yet, but I remember they was killing Indiana. They smacked Milwaukee game 1, and I'm like, oh my God, they may go 15-1, whatever, to the finals, and they lost the next 4, 10 Milwaukee. Lost the next 4, blew up the team behind that, right? So there's no correct path. Then that Milwaukee team lost to Toronto, and Toronto won the championship. So it's like there's no perfect way. Just sit back, relax. We got a hell of a team. I'd rather be 64-18 and have a shot to go to the finals than to be 27-55 and out of it every year. I don't want that, because once again, me and you are old enough to remember Vitaly Potapico. We're old enough to remember Travis Knight. We're old enough to remember Rafe LaFrentz. We're old enough to remember J.R. Bremer. Like, we're
Ricky Davis,
Jamal Williams. We're old enough to remember like that. I don't want that. I don't want Eric Strickland. I don't want those guys. I'm good. Give me what's going on now when we got a shot every year. Do I want to be the Atlanta Braves that win a division 15 years in a row and win once? No, but that means that we won though. But I want multiple, but it means we got there. But I'd rather be that than to be a bottom selling team. So I had to put that out there because once again, there'd have been too many that would be called the 0-18 frauds because they didn't kill teams at 5. They went 66-16. They really didn't struggle at all that season. So the first time they struggled was in the playoffs, and that team was the AC. They were floated. Joe Johnson, a rookie Al Horford, Mike Bibby. I don't know if Elsa Brand was on that team, but he was on that later, I think. But they had some. Josh Smith was on that team. They had some guys that could play. And then once again, Ron James. And then Detroit went through a 6-year run of making a conference finals every year, and they made 2 finals appearances. So I don't know. I just want just chill. It's okay. The team is really good.
I'm gonna freak I'm just here to tell you, I'm gonna freak the fuck out if they go 7 against Miami or Philly in the opening round.
But the 0-18 was up against an Atlanta team that wasn't as good as that Miami team or this Philly team, and they still won. That's what I'm saying. Like if they win, what is the end goal? Is the end goal is to win, right?
Well, I guess looking back on it in game 1 of the second round, I'll be a little bit calmer than talking about having to force a game 7 against Miami or Milwaukee.
But be honest, especially but Philly. Not some. I mean,
Philly. Yeah,
Embiid's been hooping, so I don't want to dismiss what he's been doing since he came back from injury. I'm glad that he
and Maxey is just
he's awesome. He's phenomenal. So I they're hooping, but from Miami's standpoint, right? Once again, we know what mental block that team has been, and that once again, this is like we've done this before. It's a segue into the playoff predictions we want to see in the first round, right? So let's just get into that as we close out. Miami has been a barrier, right? Once again, we've gone past them, they've gone past us. That has become a rivalry. Me personally, just like the team from a couple of years ago that didn't duck smoke whenever it was like, we don't want to face Brooklyn. That's Kevin Durant. That's Kyrie Irving. And they smacked Brooklyn. Brooklyn did not shot after game 2. It was over before it started. I feel the exact same way. That's what happened. That's what happened to Miami right now. We face them. It's the first time when they finally believe, damn, the team is actually better than us.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't want nothing to do with Miami in the first round. I don't want them. Give me a Philly team that's won that would have to have won 9 in a row. So 8 regular season wins to close out, and then their first play-in. I would rather take on that Philly team because I think that they're mental midgets on the court, and they know that we own them.
But their coach is just as good as Spo. Nick Nurse is a really good coach. He's a really good coach. This is not a dog coaching him now. No, I'm saying so. We say people say, people say, we want Philly. I'm like, listen, Nick Nurse is a better coach than the guy that just left. So, and once again, Joel Embiid was having his best season before he got hurt. He's unlocked Embiid even more than Doc and anybody else ever did. So, I'm good on that. I don't even want to see Embiid, even though I know they would beat Philly. I don't want no parts of Embiid in the first round.
But Spo and the Heat have made a career in the last 10 years out of beating teams that are better than them.
No, correct until the finals. But
right.
Sorry, I just had to put that out there. But that was for you, Ken. What up, baby?
But it's just worth noting that 2 of those times to get to the finals, they went through us.
Sure, but once again, in the words of Big Daddy Tan, get the job done. They didn't. So I'm like, just like you do. If you don't win, it doesn't matter, right? After you just told me,
you don't talk about the Celtics the way that you talk about the Heat, who have gotten to the finals and done fucking nothing. Nothing.
Well, that's Celtics my favorite. Well, I'm not going to. I respect the Heat, though. But I'm not going to talk about them better than the Celtics. I love the Celtics, so of course I'm going to speak about them in a different light than mine.
The Heat have 2 finals appearances in the last 5 years. The Celtics have 1. That's just it. Scoreboard.
And unfortunately, neither one of us we had the same. So cool. And once again, we're a sprained ankle away from it being 2-1 the other way. So whatever. Cool. And once again, I've heard I've talked to people from Miami that told me the same. They was like, look, they said Tatum was sprained an ankle. Like we're probably on the other side of history. I said, yeah, probably are, because there's no way they should have got to a game 7 when y'all were dominating us the first 3. So, but that's another topic for another day. But I don't know. This is the first time where I'm like, yeah, in their minds, they're like, yeah, they may actually be better than us. And I saw it in the regular season too. They usually double Tatum, which is why they have been so successful with us, because they've thrown doubles at Tatum, they throw doubles at Brown. Well, guess what? there's a guy who's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. So guess what? Number 8 is a big, big difference. And
Yep.
and he's not SAWFT. He's not soft. So they have no answer for him. But just from a mental standpoint, I'd rather us go through that. And I feel if we get to that hurdle, it's a wrap. It doesn't matter who we face next round. They're going home in probably 4 or 5. That's what I'm looking at it from that way. I'm not looking at it from it's small, it's big, but no. If they play how they're supposed to play, and you said it on our group chat many times.
Well, you are looking at it that way because you think that they need to conquer that boogeyman that I think they have.
Oh, because of what happened last year, like, yeah, but more so for Joe than the players, but I feel like Joe, he needs those reps against a coach that's going to push him because Spo's is going to give you everything. He's going to throw the kitchen sink at you. And I respect that franchise. So, yeah, I don't like the team, but I respect what they've been able to do because they make you play hard. They do. They make you play hard. They make you think. But just from what I saw in the regular season, it's just like they like to play zone against us because we shoot so many threes. But if you have Porzingis in the middle, or you have Tatum in the middle, you have Brown in the middle, you have to build out to the corner because of who's there for the 3. You can't double. You can't help. So if that's the case, it's gonna be an easy series or easier series where that series will end at 5 or 6. So something tells me that Miami's probably gonna beat Philly later on this week, and then we'll end up getting Philly. But if we do get Miami, let's get it. Not duck and smoke this time. Let's go. Knock them out the way early, and then we go from there. 'Cause I think the second round would be either Cleveland or Orlando. To me, Orlando presents a bigger challenge than Miami this year. If we're basing off the in-season tournament, look what they did to us then. They're a bigger challenge than Miami this year, anyways. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But what are you looking for round 1? What do you think happens?
I want Philly, and I think we beat Philly in 5. So I think we're more talented than the Heat. I think that we actually are playing with more tenacity so far this year when we played them. The thing about it is, if you get to a game 7 against the Heat, then the doubt does creep into the minds of all the players that have already been sent home by the Heat twice so far. I don't want any of that. And if you're telling me, Mike, if we play the Heat, we're going to sweep them. Yeah, let's fucking do that. Because I think that all that confidence will boost them. But I think this team, we need to avoid the things that we have gotten that are kryptonites from the past. And it's not just Joe's fault. This happened under Brad. This happened under Ime. We get to the finals under Ime, so it doesn't really matter. But the team
was some moments there too because they didn't catch fires in the second half of the year, so it was there too.
I think, don't put yourself in a situation where in previous playoff runs against the Heat, when things aren't going your way, you don't push to the rim. You do just try to jack up threes. Right. And by the way, I've seen nothing this year that tells me that they would stop doing that. When they're big loss.
Yeah, but no, they beat the Heat every time they played them this year, right? Which is different than most years past. Usually Miami gets 1 or they get 2, whatever it may be. They beat Miami every time that they played them this season. I think one of the games was without Jimmy, but other guys have stepped up for them at that time.
That don't matter. It's playoff Jimmy.
Yeah, right. But I mean, he in this particular season, he's been saying playoff Jimmy since February, and it's been real shaky for him and others on that team. But we'll see. I don't like the fact because once again, had Miami won those both times and beat us all 3 or 4 times, I'd have been like, you know what, cool. They're our daddy in that regard, as Pedro said years ago about the Yankees. Fine, I get that, but I can't put them on the pedestal that someone put them on. I'm just talking about NBA Twitter. NBA Twitter's put Jimmy and them on the pedestal where I'm like, wait a minute. I said you're praising them because they were a lower seed and got to the finals, but then the end result was still the same. Like they was on the couch at the end. Like to me, give credit where it's due that they were a really great team and they did some really good things. But to put them on this pedestal as if they're so much better than what Boston was, so much better than some other team in the East. And I'm like, that's not the case. But I do say that to say, if they fuck around and face Milwaukee is going home. I firmly believe that. And it's not just because of Doc Rivers. Damian Lillard, like Stephen A.
But it is.
No. I'm saying you didn't let me hear the part. Dame Lillard does not want to be there. Just like Stephen A. Smith said. He does not want to be there. and think that he would sabotage that series completely, like Kyrie did for us in 2019 against Milwaukee. I firmly believe that. So, and I'm hoping that it happens.
Well, I mean, you have a team in the Bucks that was 20 games over 500. What Doc took over?
Yeah. It's Adrian Griffin was a former Celtic. That's a former Celtic. He was on them badass teams too in the late 90s. So, but yeah, he got done wrong, and karma's a bitch, and it is rearing its ugly head in Milwaukee, and hate to see it, but oh well. Oh well. So, but hey, that's what it is. But hey, listen, man, we'll be giving you more Celtics content as the playoffs progress. Once again, we hope we keep doing shows through to June with a different result than what we had in 2022. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'll say it now. This is your first time listening to us. We thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us wherever you find your podcast, because this is our favorite time of the year, talking about basketball and any other playoff sports here in Boston. So for Money Mike, I'm Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan. Until next time, MTP Boston, we'll see you. Peace.